The Monday Mornings podcast is presented by Southern Michigan Bank and Trust. You can open a new account online in minutes. Visit smb-t.com.
Welcome inside the Monday Mornings podcast. Andy Hawley alongside Jennifer Scanlon. And we've got a magical episode today, don't we?
I'm so excited.
Very excited.
Yes, I feel like every guest just is adding so much to our lives, hopefully to our viewers and listeners' lives. But Daniel Martin's story from beginning to end is fantastic, and I just know he's going to leave us better than he found us.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll get to hear about his journey from Chicago to his residency shows to growing up and just kind of what makes him tick. So we're excited. And we've known Daniel for a little bit, so this will be a nice chance to maybe get inside his head a little bit.
I mean, other than Daniel, Andy, do you know another magician, like professional magician?
No. Do you?
I don't.
No, he's the only one I've ever known.
Yeah, but it's amazing because what he really is an entertainer and a motivator, right? This inspirational speaker that has this mad talent for illusion. So I'm really excited for everybody to learn a little bit about his story and how they can see him now.
Let's get him. Welcome in, Dan.
The Monday Morning Podcast just got a little more magical with the incredible Daniel Martin, fresh off the road.
Hi.
How are you?
It's good to see
How are
you
you?
both.
Magician, entertainer, comedian. I think you're a comedian.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, it is
Inspirational
funny.
speaker,
Yeah.
I mean, you
something
were-
like that.
parent, super dad.
I don't know about super dad. We'll call it dad for now, but yeah, we'll get to super maybe at some point.
When kids grow up, they want to be a magician,
Maybe.
don't they? I mean, that's one of the. It's firefighter, police
Yeah.
officer,
Magician.
doctor, magician. What was on your list?
Magician.
That was it.
Yeah.
There was no
Absolutely.
backup plan.
No, I mean there's always backup thoughts, right? Because when you do something that is not of the realm of like doctor, teacher,
Conventional.
lawyer, Hallmark film star, a famous realtor, like when you're not in those roles, right? Like, yeah. So your mind kind of sometimes will go to those places,
Yeah.
but generally, I mean, I knew this is what I always wanted to do.
So the point of the Monday Mornings podcast is to dive deeper with our guests, and we've had great visits with you on this show and entertained our viewers, but there's just so many questions behind how in the hell do you become a successful magician? And what is life like? So let's dive deep.
Sure.
And kind of early, you wanted to be a magician growing up. What does that path look like?
So, got my first magic kit when I was 6 years old from my grandparents. Thought it was the coolest thing ever. And just kind of just stayed with it. And then when I was about 10 or 12 years old, started building little shows. And I would do like birthday parties,
my
like
gosh.
blue and gold, like Cub Scout, VFW Hall, like little events all over
So real
Chicago.
shows though.
Yeah,
They were
for
real
money.
shows,
Like
yeah.
at 12 years old, I was, making a couple $100. And,
my God. That's
crazy.
And then when I was like 16 or 17, I had the opportunity to do some like close-up magic, small, like intimate stuff with a bunch of other magicians for this like fundraiser thing. And it went really well, and I crushed. And because of that, I was able to then start doing little small bits of like close-up magic, like at people's tables at all the restaurants, bars, clubs, and hotels all over Chicago. So that started when I was about like 16, 17. Did that through the rest of like high school and up until like my early 20s and figuring out. And then from there I was able to do shows, right? Because people would see me be like, oh, we'd love to have you at this party, or can you do this, or can you do that? And, one of my first like major client was Hilton. And it was the flagship one downtown Chicago on Michigan Avenue. So they would have me at all their like major brunches.
Wow.
So like the Easter brunch, the Mother's Day, the Christmas, and you'd have all these like socialites and celebrities that would come to this, and then they would book me, and it kind of like spiraled from there. And then it was going good, and then 9/11 happened, and the world changed, right? And one of the first things, almost like the pandemic that happened, is the first thing that really took a hit was the hospitality
Sure.
scene, right? So if you are a restaurant and you're looking at staying open and employing your employees and your management, or the magician who can sometimes bring you business, you're going to lose the magician.
Right.
So everything really changed kind of overnight. And so, but I was still doing stuff locally and stuff. The other thing is too, is like, I never wanted to be a starving artist, right? You
Okay.
see so many people and you need money to make money,
Yeah.
right? And so I always had side jobs on top of doing magic. So whether it was like retail or sales, I was always really, really good at, had a passion for. And so I'd always have a side job. And so I was doing magic. I would have a side job. And then I started college for a bit. Wasn't my jam, right? Just wasn't in my wheelhouse. My focus, I have ADHD, so my focus really wasn't good. And especially when I was paying for myself to get myself through it, I was like, all right, I'm making this amount of money doing what I love.
Yeah.
Why am I spending money to learn
Something
things that I don't even know what I want to do, right?
Yeah.
But everyone's like, you have to go to college, you have to have a degree, right? So that was the mindset. So wasn't for me. And I was still able to, maintain an okay living. I was able to pay my bills doing magic and a side job. Then I get married, and still same thing going well. And then we're about to have our first daughter. So the plan was I was gonna do magic and at this part-time sales job that I had. And my wife, who is a nurse, very, very talented, successful nurse, was going to work. I was going to stay home with our daughter.
Were you guys in Chicago at the time?
We were, yeah. So I was going to stay home with my daughter. And that lasted about a couple months because she really wanted to be home with her. And I felt that, right? And I loved her more than anything, but I'm not good with babies, right? I mean, I would do all the things, and I loved being home with her. So, the big thing is, benefits and insurance and all of that stuff. So, this is what really has changed that a lot of people don't know about me. I ended up getting like this 45 to 60 hour a week sales job that had benefits, so she could stay at home with our daughter, because we didn't want to put her in daycare or anything like that. We wanted to raise her. And so we did, and started just busting my ass at this job, getting successful with it within a couple months. And then
What were you selling?
Educations. I was
I would like to buy one.
yeah, right. I
Can
wish
we
I could
buy a
admissions
diploma?
advisor for an online college.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I would sell like people's educations, and it was specifically for like a nursing school. So it was like an online nursing school where I would have to convince these nurses to go back to school so they can quote unquote make more money.
Advisor by day. And then you're still working on growing your craft.
Well, yeah, but here's what happened then. Within the first 3 months, 2 things happened in this job. The first thing that happened was they told me that, like, you are one of the most successful salespeople we've ever had. I'm like, great, I can't wait to go into management. Like, you can't do it without a college degree. And I'm like, but I'm crushing all your numbers. And they're like, it's irrelevant. And I'm like, which is the problem with society. So that was the first thing that happened. The second thing that happened within a week of that, I had the opportunity to meet the agents, some of my agents that I was with. Went to a couple conferences that people would book entertainment at. And I showed up there. They put me in their booth, and I just destroyed. And we booked probably like 8 shows.
Oh my gosh.
And these were high-paying shows at the time, but they weren't for about another like 6 to 9 months to a year out. So then I started doing more of these conferences with my agent to secure it, and I kept getting booked more and more and more. And then what happened is the switch flipped, where I started then touring all over the country. While working this 50 to 60 hour a week job. So I would have to I would show up at work instead of like 9, I would show up at like 7:30, 8, work, not take a lunch, work till about 3 so I could get out of there, beat traffic, jump on a plane, just land and make my show, do the show, go out with the clients to schmooze them after, go back to the hotel, sleep for 3 hours to get up to be back at work at 8 a.m. the next day.
And this is in and out of Chicago, right?
Yeah.
It's not like it's just a quick jaunt.
Yeah.
No, it was exhausting. And so I did that for about a year and a half, that pace, which was
Pretty good for family life.
horrible. I mean, super destructive for, my marriage, my family, and everything, right? And then, it came to this push point where this employer was like, you max out of all of your, time off and balancing all this out. And they're like, it's either us or your magic. And I was like, peace out. The problem with it is at this point I was making really, really good money and loving what I did, but health insurance, right? Myself and my wife and my daughter, we had, health stuff. So we couldn't get it.
Did you ever think about scrapping the magic?
Yeah, it's interesting. I said to myself, there's my family has a multitude of backgrounds, but one of them is police officers, law enforcement, and some of them were kind of top tier police officers in Chicago. And so I'm like, if I'm not where I want to be by the time I'm like 30, 31,
Okay.
I think I might go into law enforcement because I can do 20 years and hopefully maybe put good in the world, all the things. And this is what it's going to be because I don't want to be a starving artist.
Yeah.
Right? I could always do magic, it makes some great money on the side. Fortunately, I didn't put a lot of stock in there because I worked my butt off a lot.
Yeah.
And really, when I came up with that mindset within 3 months, that's when all these opportunities have happened, right? And so whether you call it manifesting or making it happen,
Working your ass off.
yeah, I mean, like I this will come up probably a couple times, but I use the word luck, luck, and we know the definition of luck, preparation
And opportunity.
meeting each other, right? And so, or we could talk about that, but it's just like nothing happens by accident, right? So I happen to do magic, great. But I don't care if you want to go into comedy, if you want to go into podcasting, real estate, Hallmark movies, whatever. Like, one thing that I always say is,
Literally,
Geely. I'm sitting next to Geely.
We can talk about failure too, because that's
Listen,
something that I've had to handle recently with the movie bombing.
Well, listen, and no one knows what you're talking about because,
Right.
only
And no one
4
will.
people and your dog saw it. But other than
No,
that,
that's
dog
that's
wouldn't even
more,
watch it.
and that's no one else will see it.
yeah. You're welcome, listeners.
Back to your story. Back to your
It's
story.
been shelved.
Yeah. So for me, one of the things I always say is if you do what you love and you hustle your ass off, money will come.
It does.
It's not going to come overnight, but it's true. I mean,
When did you realize that? And was there anyone who influenced you, maybe at a young age, or you saw, how they worked or anything like that?
I mean, my grandfather, so I was raised by a single mom.
Okay.
And we lived with my grandparents till I was about 9 or 10 years old. Lived on our own for a few years, and then my mom got remarried. But, my grandparents always had a really good work ethic.
Okay.
My grandfather especially, he had a lot of health issues when I was growing up and most of my life. But he really installed a really incredible work ethic to me. Like, even with money, like you don't spend it until you have it. You don't do this, you don't do that, And so for me, I feel like I was always instilled with just being a hard worker and just not giving up. And it didn't matter if I was doing magic or if I was doing sales or anything else. Like, I've never been a 9-to-5er,
Yep.
right? Because I don't think you can be successful working 9 to
Right.
5. If you just, and there's plenty of people that,
agree with you.
want to just do what they need to do, clock out and then move on with their day. And if that's for you, That's great.
Yeah.
But that'll never get you to the quote unquote next level that so many people are searching for. Right. And so for me, I was able to, it was that crossroads where they're like, hey, it's either us or Magic. And I'm like, peace out. Now I was already making good money, but like, you know, I'm very, very transparent. Like health insurance costs us a little over $20,000 to $25,000 a year out of pocket.
What'd you do? I mean,
Your wife was
wife's
cool
staying
with it and all
home.
that?
Well, I was making significantly more money doing Magic than at this job.
So it made sense anyways.
Right, but the issue were the benefits.
Right.
A,
Offset the
can we afford
benefits.
them?
Yeah.
B, can we even get them?
Oh.
You know, but fortunately, the world was changing a lot around then, and you know, stuff from the Affordable Care Act and all of these like pre-existing things were now negated. So we were in better shape. And then, you know, then I was just doing that and then just touring like crazy. Which is also was kind of detrimental for the family and figuring and navigating that out and stuff.
What's great about touring and what sucks?
What's great is getting to see different parts of the country and how different audiences react to you or what you do, whether it's a small audience, big audience, Southern audience, Midwest audience, LA audience, East Coast audiences. And you know, I've been to and performed in every single state in the country except Hawaii.
Oh,
so
wow.
that's my last bucket list one. And so, you know, so that's kind of cool, right? And being in all these different venues. What's not cool is, you know, the novelty wears off quick, right? So, you know, people are like, oh, you get to travel. Travel is like when you get to go to a place and explore it. I would typically be in a city 10 to 12 hours.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, you know, every hotel room looks the same at some point. You know, every small town looks the same. Everyone has a Main Street. Everyone has a Michigan Avenue, even if you're not in Michigan, you know. Everyone has all of these, you know, different things. And you realize how big the country is and how small it is at the same time, right? And so, you know, a typical day for me would be I was a firm believer you always take the first flight out every morning because that way if there's a delay or
Just in
cancellation,
case.
you have the ability to regroup and still make your performance. Because if I don't make a performance, I don't get paid. It's not like a sick day. You're like, oh, well, we're going to pay you and it just comes out of your thing. Or maybe you can make up the date. You're at the mercy of the date that people want you at, whether it's a corporation or a college or a theater, performing arts center. So I would start at like 5 a.m., you know, travel, get there, usually 1 to 2 flights, then usually sometimes an hour to sometimes 3 hours of driving after doing those flights, get there, power nap, do your thing, get up, schmooze with the clients, set up the show, do the show, do a meet and greet after the show, pack up the show, have dinner with the clients, go to sleep for 4 to 6 hours, and then either fly home or go to the next city.
next one.
So it's a grind. It's a lot, you know, and I love what I do for that hour, and meeting people before and after is just lovely. I love people.
Yeah.
But the rest of it's a lot. So I just tell people I just commute a lot. Long commutes, you know. Sometimes I get to enjoy it. Sometimes I'll be in a spot for, you know, a day or two. And that's kind of great. I could go out and explore the food or the culture or something like that. But that's really few and far between. And the other thing a lot of times too is I'm by myself.
Yeah.
Right? Going out to eat by yourself sometimes is wonderful.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to explore, it's like, you know, going home to my girls and saying, hey, I just saw the Grand Canyon. Look at these pictures. They don't care. They don't give a shit. They weren't there. So who cares? It's kind of like, you know, like on social media now, like everyone coming back from spring break, like, look at my pictures, look where I was. I don't give a shit where you were. I wasn't on the beach.
What
Don't
about
care.
the Caribbean cruise, though? You like those pictures.
You know, I found out why they have so many pictures.
Why?
They get packages. You pay $200
I
up
just-
front, and they take all those, but then they share the entire freaking portfolio.
Well, you know, I mean,
on Facebook.
you like to see what your neighbors look like in bathing suits.
No, I don't.
Oh, no, I do.
Well,
I
yeah.
do because it makes me feel better about myself. It's like that's
My
why
whole I know
that's
what
why
my
people
whole
are still on
neighborhood looks
Facebook.
like.
They're just scouting their
God.
Their
high
comp.
school and college friends to be like, oh, look how much better I am in my life right now.
Oh my
doing
God,
better
that's
than
and
you.
no one's life is good.
It's all smoke
It's all
and
a lie.
mirrors.
I like watching them. You can tell, like, first drink, last drink, of the day.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
as
yeah,
their
yeah.
their
Oh, yes.
pictures change, their eyes
Oh,
get a little
yeah.
glassy,
Oh,
their
yes.
faces get a little red, they get a little sloppy.
Crazy.
It's like, are you really sharing that?
And you have to be in the public. You have to promote yourself. How do you thread that needle of,
I'm not good at it, right? Because, I have a lot of friends who are ridiculously successful at social media. Like, and I'm, from 10,000 followers to I have some friends that have 10 to 20 million
Wow.
people and subscribers and followers. And what I realize, and this has always been one of my veins to my existence, right, is social media is so important and such a powerful tool to have in your arsenal as a business owner. However, it is a full-time job. So people that I see that do it well, from realtor friends to I know construction companies, they have a full-time social media person that delves in and dives into it because it really is a full-time job. So instead of delving into that the last decade, I put my stock into actually just being good, right?
Yeah.
Because there are some people that are outstanding on social media. I'll use magicians as an example. They do post all this wonderful things and they're great and charismatic and engaging and people love them. Millions of fans. You put them on stage and they bomb a painful death. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
So it's weird because those are the people sometimes that get business opportunities, but they can't deliver on them.
Yeah.
Where sometimes my opportunities may not be as rampant as theirs, but I'm going to crush and deliver on stage.
Yeah.
Only because I've done my Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours, right?
Yeah.
I've walked out of some of your shows, and it's got to feel good when you hear people, that want to go right back or can't wait to tell their parents about the show or their friends.
They're in awe.
Yeah, it's cool. What do you get out of that?
I mean, that's just amazing, it's transitioned for me from being this likable, funny, kind of like smart ass character on stage, just an exaggerated version of myself, to developing pieces in my show that are really, really heartfelt and touch people and that are meaningful. For me, one of my first pieces is about my grandfather that helped raise me, who passed away, and there's like a tribute piece that I do to him. And,
I love that segment.
Thank you. It means the world to me, and seeing how that has touched people throughout the years and the connection that is made for them and their family is huge. So, being able to build kind of my show, my repertoire with what I've done, the last 14 to 15 years of touring like this, it has been pretty great. But the social media thing is real and is really important. That's kind of the next iteration of what we're going to be working on starting this year.
I feel like, though, from the get-go, though, you've done it your own way, in your own level, and reached this crazy amount of success in this industry that, I mean, it's true. You always have to be innovative and looking at what comes next. But I just love how you do it your way. And somehow you pivoted from Chicago to Bumble, Michigan.
Well, you know what it is? So, that's, people ask me, why are you here? You're not from here. I'm like, I'm not. So when, going back to the struggle and this of balancing family life and professional life, right? And I happen to, magic is my thing, right? But it doesn't matter if it's, once again, real estate, producer, Hallmark star, balancing all of that out is really, really tough. So when we had our second daughter, we knew we needed that family support. And my wife is from here. My wife is from Jackson. So her parents are wonderful and they're retired and they're incredible grandparents. And so we just knew that we needed that family support structure. So we moved here now. I think we're going on about almost 9 years.
Really?
I didn't know it was that long, but yeah. And, we're here. We're in it. And it has been tremendously helpful for me, for my wife, for our relationship, for our marriage, for our family's dynamic. It's been good, and I've gotten to meet amazing people in this little tiny town like you both,
It kind of, and let's talk about your residency show that you started in Jackson and kind of what that's led to now.
People had to been like, what the hell are you thinking?
Yeah. So the big thing, I mean, this is kind of the pitch I tell people about it, but this is actually true. The big thing in entertainment are these boutique residency shows.
Yeah.
Started probably, hardcore in the mainstream market probably about 7 to 10 years ago. But if you have a favorite comedian, instead of seeing them, in an arena, See like a Neighbor Gatsby, you'll see it in an arena. They'll maybe do a residency show like in Vegas where they're going to do a few months and you're going to see them with like maybe 600 or 700 people, right? So the big thing in entertainment are these boutique residency shows. And I have friends that do it really, really well and are successful, like in Chicago and other places and stuff like that. And I knew that that was kind of the thing because what I'm able to do theoretically is a couple weekends a month in one place, which would allow me to be home more for my family, right? Because if anyone wants to hire me for a show, whether I'm doing a corporate speaking engagement, hosting something, or a theater or whatever, everyone 90% of the time has specific dates. Sure. Now there's a lot of people that want me that have maybe flexibility and they'll move around my schedule, but typically people have a date, so I'm at their mercy. The nice thing about my residency shows is I can choose what dates that I want to do, which is important, and I can balance it out with my tour schedule, my family life, which is really, really important. So we moved to Michigan and I knew I wanted to open something like this up here. Basically what I take for, the average audience, let's say 1,000 people, and shrink it down to an intimate experience that people can really experience something amazing in an intimate setting that they wouldn't believe was actually happening.
You feel like you're a part of the show.
Right, 100%. Yeah. So where I wanted to see around, maybe 50-ish people. So we started looking, this is 2019, we started looking all over the Detroit area, and no one understood the concept. Like no one could grasp and get their head around it, which was just so stupid, right? Like they were trying to build Detroit into this giant hospitality thing, and they're getting the restaurants in there, they're getting the hotels, but there was zero entertainment down there, unless you're going to a major sporting event or a major concert. There was nothing, but no one could comprehend this concept. So when that happened, I was talking to people here in Jackson and the wonderful people at the time at Grand River, which is John and Justin. They said, what about Jackson? And I said, what about it? I said, it's a fine place to live and raise a family. I said, but there's no way it could sustain a show like this. And that's when they were opening Veritas, which is a high-end steakhouse, seafood, and raw bar like in downtown Jackson here. And they said, if you'll do it here, let's partner on this. And I said, I don't know if it could sustain a show like this. But we opened still. We built a space out on their second floor, this hidden, like, little sexy little showroom that was, like, hidden away. And we built it out with full lighting, sound, multimedia, like you guys know. And we were going to seat 36 people. And we opened at the end of 2019, because we have impeccable timing.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then, mid-March closed. And then about a year and a half later, we reopened. And it was gangbusters. Like, we've done a little over like 200-ish, like 250, like roughly shows.
Wow.
And it was pretty special, right? Because we were, with our marketing, our reach was people are driving hours to Jackson to come see this show, which is pretty great. Like we had a marginal amount of people local that would come.
Yeah.
But everyone was coming from, people were flying in from Philly, people were coming in from Traverse City, people were coming in from Chicago or, Indianapolis or Columbus or all these different places, which is really amazing. So it kind of created a life of its own.
Yeah.
Right? But with that being said, it was still a small town.
Sure.
So there was only so much sustainability.
Of course.
So we knew we wanted to grow. And we had the opportunity this last year to partner with this amazing venue right outside Detroit. It ended up working out. So we were still, this whole time we were still looking in Detroit, and people still weren't getting the concept. Like even these venues, we had, like, I'll throw them under the bus because they really shit the bed, but oh my gosh.
Well, you think of all the boutique hotels that
what is the fire station one? I can't think of it.
Shinola.
No, not Shinola. Oh my God, this is going to drive me crazy. The Fire Station Hotel, downtown.
Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit. Okay, we're going to look this up, viewers. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
Fire Station Hotel.
They just want you to stay
the foundation.
There. Oh, the foundation.
Foundation.
Yeah. So I couldn't remember their name because they lost their foundation. So like you walk into this hotel, it is a gorgeous hotel, killer restaurant. It is the perfect venue for Drinks and Deceptions. It couldn't be better. they wouldn't even rent me the space.
Really?
Crazy.
So it's not even like, hey, hook me up. They wouldn't even rent me the space. So it was so stupid because we generate so much revenue
That's
for
what I
our
was gonna say.
partners.
You're
It's
building
free
in
money.
clientele
It's free
for
money.
them.
But so they shit the bed. So and then we had like problems. Like even when we met with Shinola, gorgeous venue, gorgeous event space, but they have 4 event spaces, but they're all connected together. So because of that, they could only do one event a night. So that wasn't going to work out. They were lovely though, but everyone else was really, really lovely. These once again didn't get it.
Looks like you got a great home.
So now we were able to fortunately partner with this incredible luxury venue right outside Detroit. It's in Pontiac.
Okay.
And it's called the Treasury. It is a bank built by famous Michigan-based designers and architects from the 1920s. And they built this gorgeous building that was this ginormous bank, and over the years went into disrepair. This wonderful group of fantastic people took it over, and they turned it into a luxury venue for like upscale weddings, corporate events, stuff like that. And so they opened about 5 years ago, and they're just amazing. And so we had a conversation, we figured out some details, and we were able to get in there at the beginning of this year, and we opened on Valentine's Day, and we were going to do the show in one of their lofts on the second floor, but in the basement they have a giant vault. When I say giant, like 6,000 safety deposit boxes.
Oh my
and
I always wanted one of those.
I know. We set up chairs and we seat 48 guests inside the vault. That's how big the vault is, with a stage, lighting, sound, multimedia inside the vault. And then they went to work hardcore, and they renovated the entire basement area to the sexy lounge area. So now people come to Drinks and Deceptions. They go down this private elevator right to the basement. It opens up into this sexy like lounge venue. And then smoke starts billowing out of this giant vault door, and the vault door opens and you go inside, and now you get to experience Drinks and Deceptions in a whole new way.
I can't
Oh
wait
my
to get
gosh.
up there.
It's
I
awesome.
cannot wait to get up
It's
there.
awesome, and we're so blessed. Like, I mean, the shows have never sold out quicker. We're averaging about 2 minutes.
That's
I
crazy.
don't. The last one was not even 2 minutes.
It was 90 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We're so lucky.
It was like that.
We're so lucky. There's so much, and it's taken on a life of its own. There was a little bit of a reputation, which was nice in that area because we were marketing to the Detroit area for a while.
Yeah.
We opened, as I said, Valentine's Day, and we just hit the ground running. And it is such an amazing partnership. The venue's gorgeous. My team is great. Their team is next level. They understand hospitality in a way that I've never met people that have that mindset before.
Really?
They're just so next
Coast to
level.
coast travel. They
Well, and I think part of it is because of the venue that they have. They have all these upscale, high-end events there, right? And they do small stuff too. They do everything in between. So they understand what it's like to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. And so coupled with our show and our team, it is just truly a next level experience that we're very, very blessed that people are just literally raving about. So, fans bring fans, right? And so that's kind of what it's kind of snowballed into now. And so,
How many shows are you going to do?
So we're trying to do, we're adding a little bit more for May, for example, depending on when people listen to this, May of 2025, because of the demand. So we're going to do 8 for May.
Okay.
But we're averaging anywhere between 4 and 6 a month.
Okay.
Depending on my schedule, their schedule, my team's schedule, and
We are brought to you by Printer Source Plus and Epson Printers. Switch today and visit Printer Source Plus.
Thank you to Leave It to Beavers Auto Detailing. I wouldn't ride in Jennifer's car without them. Thanks to Montel and Leave It to Beavers Auto Detailing. What was your first magic trick? I need to know that so bad.
Yeah. So my
Was
first,
it good?
Probably not. It was. I'm going back to this little magic kit that I had, which was funny because about 6 years ago, I was able to track it down.
Shut up.
Not mine.
Yeah.
But I couldn't know for the life of me what it was, but I can smell the shitty plastic. I can smell, but it was from Fisher Price.
love that smell.
Fisher Price in the 80s, and they came out with a magic kit, and and so it was this I think it was like a little magic wand where you push a little lever at the bottom and a flower pops out the
love
top.
it. Love it.
Who were you entertaining at that age?
My
Were you out on the street?
no. That's a totally different profession. I
Kind of you're doing. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Matt Tricks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No.
I get
So
confused.
for my family, my friends, I would take like flashlights to the ceiling, like little lights on myself, and I would do like horrible stuff, and then you would do it to music, and then you always try to find the people that you looked up to, like you emulate them. So if you're into basketball as a kid, like in the 90s, you probably tried to slam dunk with your tongue hanging out of your mouth like Michael Jordan, right? So for me back in you have like the 80s and 90s, it was David Copperfield.
Yeah.
So you would turn on a piece of Phil Collins music, blast it, right? And then, do this, little shitty like dance around like a little magic trick, or like, why is he dancing around with a silk handkerchief turning it into a cane? What the hell does that mean? But that's what you did, right?
Yeah.
You have to go through it until you could find your voice and figure out who you were.
Your personality really comes out in your shows, and
Yes.
that's one thing I enjoy. How important, or how much do you credit your upbringing in Chicago for kind of defining your personality?
I think this is for a lot of people, unless they're playing a specific character. Who I am on stage is a definite exaggerated personality of who I actually am. And so I've always been quick on my feet. I've always been kind of a little bit of a smart ass. That really didn't start till, of course, I was a teenager, right? And moved around a lot and kind of trying to establish my personality. And some of it was a defense mechanism, obviously,
For sure.
right? Yeah. But I like showing people a good time and realizing that, growing up, when you're able to do something impossible as a kid and adults can't figure it out, like there's some sort of power to that, right? And so, I got hooked on that, right? The attention, kind of that little powerful thing.
Yeah.
And, kind of just being that, growing up doing magic, being kind of that life of the party. It's kind of like being the pretty girl at a bar. You don't have to buy a drink. I mean, like when you walk in, Andy, like
Exactly.
everything gets handed to you. So for me, it was, just being authentic. I think that is the biggest thing. And once again, it doesn't matter if you're a magician or what you do in your life. Authenticity matters. There's, I can't think of who said it. I know one of the people was truly actually Marilyn Manson. It's just like, he would always say like, just be yourself because everybody else is taken. Right. And that's, no matter who you are or what you do, being true to yourself, you're gonna find your audience, because you're not meant to be everyone's cup of tea.
For sure.
No.
And the quicker people can figure that out and be comfortable in their own skin, the quicker they're gonna catapult to just peacefulness in their own life, their career, anything. So yeah, I just love people. I just love giving people a good time. And I realized early on, trying not to make it about me and making it about the other people and their experience is what was a game changer, I think, for me.
It is such an interactive show. Like, you feel like you're a part of what is going on when I've been lucky enough to be in your audience. And you mentioned what you hear as you're walking out and what people say.
Sure.
You've changed their lives a bit. You've changed their perspective. And I love that you have this amazing craft as a magician, but you're so much more than that. I mean, you're an inspiration in the way that you just hit that home. How do you come up with that? But your shows, how do you come up with the material and then make it relatable and make it work on the East Coast versus the West Coast and then when you're here?
Yeah, I think so. When I first started, it was just doing stuff that I like to do. Like, what am I going to impress people with, right? And it was all, kind of cookie cutter, because that's how you start, right? And then I think, like what you were saying, Andy, is like you find your voice. Right? You're like, oh, this is my point of view. This is my personality. And it doesn't matter if people necessarily, it's not a commercially viable thing for everyone. It's going to hit these people, right? And then, for me, it was trying to push the envelope in what was possible with my act, right? Like, I wanted to show something to people that they've never seen before. you know, and especially like with social media and just culture, people have seen magicians on TV and all that stuff. But like, you know, one of the things I don't do a lot of, I do one piece sometimes in my show is stuff with card tricks because
Right.
everyone has seen a million different card tricks. There's a piece that I do, it's pretty damn good, but it's still a card trick, right? So how do you flip that on its, you know, on its side? You know, how do I, you know, my grandfather passed away. I wanted to make a tribute to him, but I didn't want to make it cheesy. So I wanted to make it authentic. And then, you know, that with my writing partner, we took about 4 years really figuring it out because I didn't want it to be contrived. I wanted it to be real. I wanted to honor his memory. I wanted to impress people. And, you know, just by trial and error, we figured out something. And then one night it clicked on stage, you know, where I had my entire audience call their grandparents and, you know, to have a conversation with them. And then we turned that into a piece of magic. And that changed everything, right? Because then people were, you know, emailing me weekly saying, hey, you know, I'll use college as an example. If I was performing at a university, they'd be like, you know what, I'm a 20-year-old with my head up my ass because I'm selfish, right? But I called my grandparent that night and thank you because that was the last time I ever talked to them. So you have such a, so then it really changed where it's like, holy shit, I have a profound responsibility to not only entertain people, but make them feel, make them believe. Because I think magic is a really great metaphor for life, right? It's like you really can do anything, and really anything really is possible, right? And if I can take people away from their troubles, their problems, their mindsets for that hour and leave them, you know, better off than when they first came to me, that's what it's about. And like the comments after the show are pretty great because, you know, there's a bunch of people that say this. There's two types of people that come to a magic show. People that want to come to the magic show and the people that they bring. Right? And how do you translate what you want to do to the people that didn't buy the tickets, that were quote unquote dragged along?
Skeptical,
right?
and jaded.
You have to step up your game. And so the other night, you know, after the show, I always do a quick little meet and greet and say hello to people after. And you know, people said really kind things about the magic and the show and the experience. That's pretty great for Drinks and Deceptions, for example. But this lady came out. She said, I got to tell you, the magic was great. Everything about this was awesome tonight. She goes, but I loved you and your personality, and you seem like someone that I want to have a beer with after the show. And to me, that was probably one of the biggest compliments I've gotten in a long time, where it's just like, oh, cool. Who I am as myself on stage is authentic enough to connect with people that they want some sort of more. You know? And I think that's huge.
Can we break that down a little bit?
Sure.
So that's your why. Where do you remember where that first came from? Like that why because it's coming back to helping people, brightening people's day, entertaining people. When you were younger, do you remember coming up with that, or always wanting to be?
No.
Is there anything?
I mean, even when I was younger, even in my 20s, doing magic, it was very self-centered. Like meaning like, look at me.
Look at me.
Yeah.
Watch what I can do that you can't do. Yeah. Now, it wasn't that abrupt and abrasive.
Sure.
Like, listen, asshole, watch. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
But for me, that's kind of what it was. And then I think, you know, as you just get older in life, hopefully you learn a little bit more about yourself to be self-aware. That's the biggest thing I think most people miss in life and business, is being self-aware. I struggle with it more than anything. I'm nowhere near an expert, but the more self-aware you are, the more you can realize. And it doesn't mean that critiques or criticisms that people give you, that they're valid and that they're right, but there's a reason that they're saying it.
Yeah.
So if someone said, hey, this guy was an asshole on stage, or this or that, it's just like, was I really, or was that person having a bad day?
Right.
And why do they think I was? Oh, okay. Well, maybe I shouldn't use that term.
Yeah.
Or that wasn't my intention.
Right.
But maybe I shouldn't have said that or this. And then learning, you know, being self-aware and developing original material. And then for me, as I said, you know, the pivotal moment for me was developing a couple things. One was my grandfather trick, because it really humanized me.
Yeah.
When I'm funny and smart ass the entire show, but now I'm bringing it down to a moment that everyone can relate to and they care about. and it'll make them care more when they leave.
Yeah.
That really humanizes them. And when I saw the power that had, that really was another switch that got flipped for me, where it's just like, oh, I'm more than just a dancing monkey on stage doing tricks. I could really connect with people. I can make their day truly better, not just giving them a laugh or showing them something cool as just going to a show. I could leave them with something way more than that. So
You mentioned David Copperfield was
Yeah.
somebody that kind of caught your eye as a magician.
Yeah.
Who are some of the other famous magicians that inspired you?
You know, it's interesting. Now I can name a few, but like really growing up, it really wasn't many magicians.
No.
It was like Steve Martin.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like Martin Short. And so like even now, like I've never really gotten too much inspiration off of magicians because I try not to watch a lot of magic because I don't want to be influenced.
Yeah.
Right? With coming up with original pieces for me. So, but for me, my biggest inspirations are music,
Nice.
movies, comedy all the time, right? So I can listen to a piece of music. I'm like, that's it. And it connects the dots for something that I've been maybe shelving for 8 years.
Because your craft really is an art. I mean, it's an
You
art
have
form.
There's a lot of comedy in your show. I
Yeah.
think, and
And
I
I
think
don't-
that's increased.
Well, thank you. It's intentional, but I never book myself as like a comedy magician or a comedian because I always feel like I'm going to let people down.
Sure.
It's nice when they come in and they're not expecting it to be funny
Sure,
and
that
they
makes
happen
sense.
to laugh.
Yeah.
Right? Because most of the stuff there's not real typical necessarily lines in the show.
Yeah.
It's more what a comedian would reference as like crowd work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm working off the crowd in the moments because when you see something impossible, you don't have a normal reaction to that,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So being able to pick up on those little idiosyncrasies and how people react and engage with me is fun and it can be funny. And so I try to make that experience kind of that well-rounded. I want my show to be like a movie.
Yeah.
Your favorite movie, right, should have everything in it. It should, you're going to laugh, you're going to cry,
Yes.
you're going to have arcs, you're going to have ups, and you're going to have downs. And that's really kind of what I want that show to be, that well-rounded experience where once again you're just not at a show.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
I was
my
at
friend.
one of your Drinks and Deceptions, and there's always a skeptic, right? There's always someone in the front row.
Yeah.
Arms crossed.
Arms
Yeah.
crossed.
Like impress me, Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do a trick
Dance
for me.
monkey.
And the way you handle the skeptics is almost
It's a gift.
it is. It's part of the show because, like you said earlier, I'm gonna work harder
Sure.
to blow their mind, and then it's almost as if the crowd watches the skeptic's reaction, and it's entertaining. It's fun.
Oh yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, because and most skeptics that are sitting with their arms crossed. Most people are just nice enough people. They're just analytical or skeptical,
Yeah.
or maybe just had a crappy day, or people are on dates.
They want their money's worth.
They want their money's worth, right? And so those are the people that I really, really target, where it's just like, okay, I know how you're feeling right now, but by the time you leave, I'm gonna flip your switch so hard. Where like there's nothing better than seeing this like big dude with a hat on and just sitting there like, my wife dragged me to this shit. And
I don't believe in it.
And at the end, he's the first person that he wants to give me a hug. He wants
Yeah.
a picture, right? And I'm thrilled, right? Because it's like, wow, it's very easy to do, it's a layup when someone loves you and comes and wants to see a trick, and it doesn't matter what I do, I can do no wrong. But it's a definite win, right? And I think that's in life, people's clients and people's lives, families, friends. It's a win when you can take a situation that people weren't expecting and flip their switch,
That's okay. I'm thinking about the guests that we have and how unique your industry is
it's-
in comparison. Is your industry one of camaraderie or is it cutthroat?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definite camaraderie, right? Like the people that are in magic and entertainment that are in my lives, that are my close friends, would be my close friends regardless of
Okay.
what I did. It just happens that this is how we met. But it is, and I have a hard time with it, honestly, with other magicians, because I view so many of them as shitty, cheesy, and I've been ripped off so much material-wise. So that's really, really frustrating, when you work on something.
Well, you
for
grew up without
5,
YouTube,
10
right? And
Yeah, we didn't have that.
now it's a lot easier for magicians to steal your material.
all day
Yeah.
long,
Yeah.
all day long, and it happens. And so that's one of the reasons, which is really, really interesting. That is one of the reasons I have not had a lot of stuff out there,
Yeah.
because it's like, cool, I've worked on this for 5 years, I perfected it. Let's make a video of it, and then it's on YouTube. In 48 hours, there's 12 other people doing it.
Yes. Right.
When it took me blood, sweat, tears, thousands of dollars, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that is the most frustrating thing. However, I have a really great friend. His name is Taylor. He is an incredible magician and speaker out there. And he told me something about 6 months ago that has really resonated with me, which is why I'm going to start working on putting on a lot more social content in the next, few months, and we're going to have that consistency to it.
Nice.
Is he's like, he goes, dude, there's nothing out there of yours. And I'm like, yeah, I know. He's like, yeah. He goes, but I've seen your shows. You're good. And he goes, and I go, yeah, but people stealing and this. He goes, who cares? He goes, people are always going to steal. He's like, imagine if I told you I went to a great concert the other night, and this concert was the best band I ever seen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to see this band. They are incredible. It's like, oh, okay, well, how do I listen to them? Well, you can't.
Yeah.
Like, well, how do I find out about their music? You can't. You just got to go to their show. Well, I'm not going to spend the time, energy, and money going to their show if I don't even like their music.
Yeah.
So he's like, by not putting anything of yours out there,
So
you're
smart.
doing yourself a
Yeah.
disservice. And that has really, really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to start putting some content
Nuggets,
out there.
little nuggets out there.
and
Little droppings.
little droppings, right?
The first time I ever saw you, I believe it was during COVID, and you did Bart's show.
Uh-huh.
You did a couple things during COVID.
Sure.
Again, because you're so innovative and you pivot to whatever's going on around you.
Yeah.
At a time that was so heavy, there was just this like fun, smart escape for your viewers for just a few minutes. And my whole family got around my laptop that we put on our coffee table. And because it was like at a certain time,
Right.
this is when we could see it. And we all sat around just in awe. And you taught us how to do a trick. It was with forks.
I did, yeah.
And I'll never forget it. And in that moment, I thought, we're going to be okay.
That's
Isn't
awesome.
that cool?
You know?
At my house, it was the president's on. Get in here.
Yeah.
Well, but like what you said, like, first of all, thank you. That means a lot. But like, I take that now as that doesn't fall on deaf ears, right? So like, I feel now when I hear that with people that I have that kind of almost like social responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, God, whatever, universe, whatever you believe in, has given everyone some sort of talent.
Yeah.
Just because you're not doing it and you haven't found it doesn't mean you don't have it.
Yep.
And I think once you find what that is, you need to use it so you don't lose it, right? And you never know how you're going to impact people's lives. You don't. I'm, fortunate to do what I do. And after the shows, people will tell me or they'll send me really kind messages or emails or comments like that. But a lot of times people's work or whatever goes unnoticed, right? I love what I do, but, I've had customer service interactions in the last few weeks with stuff going on in my life. Yeah. Oh, God. But I always say this in life and business, and I say this to my team, I say this to my daughters and stuff. It's not if you screw up in life, it's when you do how you take care of it that matters.
For sure.
Right? And, going into a doctor's office the other day for an appointment, and the person was so kind and nice, not knowing what I was dealing with in my life personally or going through. They were just so kind and nice and had such a genuine demeanor and smile on their face that made my whole day. And so, you don't know that nice hello, that patience that you're going to have with someone that you encounter in your work life or outside of your work life. You don't know how that smile, that hello is going to impact someone. There's something that I said in one of my TED Talks that when I said this line, it is one of my favorite lines, and it's true. It's talking about making magical moments for people, right? And one of the things that I say, it's asking how someone's day, it's talking about making people's days better, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe it's as simple as asking how someone's day is going and then caring enough about their answer
Yeah.
to make it better. How many times do they do it? 100 times. Like, hey, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. That's good. And then you move on.
Yeah.
It's just like, ask them how their day is. I'm fine. It's like, oh, how come you're just fine?
Yeah.
Wow, who asked that? Nobody, right? And so caring enough about people that you come in contact with, because I think it comes full circle,
Yeah.
right? And so, that smile, that hello, that extra patient moment with a server who hasn't gotten your order because he or she or they are swamped,
Yep.
right? It's like they come to your table and, it matters. Like I had this lady, I was at Houston Airport on Thursday, and I was was going to Starbucks, and I'm like, I go to the lady, she goes, "Can I help you?" I go, "How are you, first of all? How was your day?" And she just paused for a second, looked at me, she goes, "I've been getting yelled at all day. No one has ever asked me that." And it just flipped her switch.
Yeah.
And you don't know, like those are magical moments.
Yep.
Those are the moments that matter, right?
The everyday
and so,
real life
so
magic.
you don't have to be that's what I say. You don't have to be a magician to create those moments in other people's lives.
Well, that's our nugget to take with us. That's
I
something
like
that
that.
we always want to make sure our viewers and listeners walk away with a nugget. I do want to ask. Oh shoot! I just lost it.
I want to
Go.
ask what it's like for your daughters
Oh,
and
yeah.
their friends, because I have a daughter around the same age as your daughter.
You
and
will,
if
you
I
will
was a
never be
magician-
cool. You will never be cool to your kids. I
No.
don't care what
100%.
you do. So, sometimes it has some perks where they get to travel with me.
Sure.
That's kind of cool. Or
And you're building a family empire now too. Your oldest daughter is.
yeah, but they're the antithesis of what I do.
Okay.
Like because growing up, like magic is what took their dad away from home.
Oh, that's
right?
true.
So there is this, and it's my passion. It's really, really challenging when you do something, you also happen to love it. It's your hobby, your passion, and you're a business owner.
Yep.
Because you don't work 9 to 5. So my brain is always spinning. So that's really frustrating sometimes for my family, I know, to turn it off. And it's not like, it's more important than them. It never will be. But it's hard to explain that and convey that it's not something that I'm just always able to turn off.
Yeah.
Right? Creating, writing, whatever. And so for me, yes, it does have its perks, but it's the same as being a Hallmark star, Andy.
It's not.
Right.
It's embarrassing.
Andy knows.
I mean, sometimes. Okay, that is
I'm
embarrassing
embarrassing
as
to
that.
my kids. It's
Okay,
not
well,
as
but
embarrassing.
yeah, of course, you're never going to be the cool parent. But it's like, there's some fun moments that are associated with it. But that they don't view it like other people do.
So you've had all these different levels of success: regional, national, international. You've got this residency here. We're blessed that you call Michigan home. What's next for you?
Well, the next few things is residency-wise, we're looking at expanding at a second, maybe even third location.
Shut up.
In Michigan?
I would like to. It's no secret. It's got to be in a big city. So the next big city is Grand Rapids.
Rapids, yeah.
So
You're gonna need a private jet.
listen, I'll borrow yours.
There you
I-
go.
Like
The Hallmark Channel is set
yeah,
up.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's got
high budget.
it's a purple jet that says Hallmark with Jesus stickers and Andy's face on the tail. It's
Perfect.
amazing.
We can stop and get chicken.
This is great. Yeah,
Big
what's
Gay's
gonna-
chicken.
This
We can
is
stop and get
chicken
chicken.
waffles. And so so we're looking to expand. I'm really interested in Grand Rapids.
Seems like Grand Rapids would have an appetite for exactly what
I
you
think
do.
it would crush. There's nothing like this there, and I think it would be amazing to be able to bring this to partner with the right luxury hotel
Yes.
or venue in Grand Rapids soon. And, then we're scouting a few other major cities across the country, like including Miami and Fort Lauderdale area too.
sweat.
And a few, we want to kind of crack that nut. So, that's the goal, is to do a few more of these so I could tour a little bit less and be home and be more present and intentional a little bit more.
Is that your goal, doing what you're doing, or do you have is there something big? Would you love to
Star in a Hallmark movie with Andy
Would
Hawley,
you-
yes.
if-
Well, like when you will no longer come and talk
one,
to us.
one that has
Never,
So
one that
big.
has a sequel?
Oh,
no, would
yeah.
you like do you see yourself having a residency show in Las Vegas someday?
Yeah, no, because that's saturated, right?
Sure.
So I love the idea of doing this in cities where this isn't there. So so my goal is to have 2 or 3 of these going, and then just do private special events here and there. right? Whether it's, hosting galas, which I absolutely love doing because it's not about me. I'm bringing the attention usually to the people in the organization.
Fundraising and helping that happen.
I love hosting events. So, and emceeing. So that's something that is a kind of a passion of mine, speaking more, having done a few TED Talks now, that's positioned me into doing a little bit more speaking. So I enjoy that. But my residency shows, here's the deal. If I won $100 million tomorrow, I would take a moment, travel a little bit, and then I would go right back to doing Drinks and Deceptions.
Nice.
It is my favorite thing that I get to do.
That's cool.
And I think it's the best that I am on stage.
And you created
awesome.
it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yours.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
You created your favorite thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty
That's
damn
amazing.
cool.
Yeah, I think sometimes, sometimes that's a necessity in life, right?
You talked about being authentic, and authenticity is kind of the backbone of everything. What would be your advice for public speaking, hosting events, just talking to people in general?
I mean, you both know this too. I mean, the number one fear in life isn't like arachnophobia or drowning or burning. It's public speaking.
Yeah.
It is hard. And it is sometimes it's a gift, sometimes it's natural. It's always come a little bit more natural to me. But I'll tell you the thing, and when I coach and help CEOs, or I'm hosting something and trying to make them be the star, one of the things that I say is, preparation. When you walk into something, it's like right now you have your questions in front of you, you're well read and researched and such, so you know where you're going to go. Same thing like when I write something or I'm going to host something, I'll bullet point it. So I'm not saying or my thing is, right?
Yeah.
And so being prepared in what you're going to say, and that's what so many, I think, like leaders and business owners and managers miss out. They go into their meetings, no one pays attention to them. And I'm like, right. I'm like, you want to know why? Because you're not prepared. Like the best speakers, they go in there. Like, if you're into like church or a speaker, they're going to usually a pastor or a preacher will start off with a sports analogy because they're trying to make it relevant, relatable, and trying to cross that bridge. And so it's being prepared, and that actually gives you the confidence as opposed to, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go in, I'm going to say hello, I'm going to thank everyone for being here, I'm going to ask them how their day is, and then I'm going to say, hey, here's this, and then you know what? I'm going to give them a couple examples. There you go. So it's really public speaking, and I think presenting is just truly just being prepared.
Yep.
And writing it out. Right? And you're like, oh
great
yeah,
advice.
this is horrible. This is a horrible joke, or this is this, or this is that. But then it's just like, what's relatable, and some people need to stay behind closed doors, and that's okay. Some people are transparent, right? So giving something of yourself makes you not only authentic, makes you relatable, but makes you original, right? So to go in, like, no one, like, we'll make the joke 12 more times, but if you're going in and talking about like experiences in your life and you bring up like the Hallmark story and the viewing party and one of the 3 people that watched it and the purple Hallmark jet.
Like 80 people.
Yeah. Okay. 80. See?
On site.
On site. So I mean, off site, it's got to be a solid 90.
Yeah.
But
I would hope for that.
But think about that. Like, so walking into a situation and like you're joking about embarrassment or this or opportunities working or not working, giving that story is a funny analogy and now makes you instantly relatable.
Right.
Like you as one of the most successful realtors around, you're not just not a realtor and you're not just great with your clients because you're personable. You also put so much good and hard work into the community that differentiates you from so many other people. Even if someone has sold more, people still want to be around you because of the light that you bring them. And I think that is really amazing when you could differentiate yourself by, even if it's just your life experiences, that's huge. So that coupled with trying to prepare yourself for each situation, you're not going to strike out.
Yeah, that's great advice. I like that.
It's so inspiring to think that what you said about being able to have a passion as your career and something that you can cultivate and grow and change is so incredible. And most people have a hard time figuring out how they like
You
like
can
said,
take any job and bring good into
There's
the world.
nothing-
Exactly. How can you do good in your world with the gifts, talents, and position that you a lot in life that you
And
currently
anyone
have?
that's listening right now, I don't care what your hobby or whatever your passion is. One
Yeah.
of the things I also say in one of the shows, you're at work more than you're with your family, your
true.
friends, your significant others, your hobbies, your passions, your everything.
Yep.
So why are we wasting it away? Are you living to work or are you working to live? And so whatever is your thing, that could be a thing. I have a friend that is a very successful YouTuber. He had an assistant kid that just interned underneath him who loved playing Minecraft. His job, making $150,000 a year, is on a YouTube channel playing Minecraft and showing people how he does it.
Yeah.
And he makes well over six figures.
Isn't that crazy?
Right? So there is nothing that any of us in this room, anyone that's listening that has a passion for it that can't monetize it.
Yep.
Now you're going to have to work, and maybe you know what?
true.
Maybe you need some marketing materials, and maybe you don't have the money for that. So guess what you may have to do? You may have to deliver pizzas for 3 months
Yeah.
to save a couple $1,000s to invest in that.
Yep.
But if that gets you closer than doing the grind every day, because there's a profound difference between hustling and grinding.
Yep.
Right? And the hustle is important. You don't want to be grinding forever.
No.
So figuring out what it is that you want to do, how you can monetize it in some way, shape, or form,
Yep.
and taking the steps to do that. And it's not going to come overnight. And if it does, great. Congratulations. Your luck and preparation and opportunity all came together. But it might take, to be successful, like online, usually takes 18 to 24 months. And that's consistent and grinding and hustling. And it still doesn't mean it's going to happen. But guess what's going to happen after those 2 years? You're going to learn a lot more about yourself.
Yep.
And, I know for me, as well as so many different entertainer friends that are successful, almost all of my entertainer friends, whether they're YouTubers or whatever they're doing, that wasn't their goal. When I was growing up in magic, I'm going to be a TV magic star. That's what I'm going to do. Now I'm doing a residency show, and I love that.
Yeah.
That's a whole other kind of thing and genre, right? And so I always say, if you're working hard and putting enough pokers in the fire and putting good work out there, a lot of times some of these pokers are going to catch fire and take you in a totally different direction you didn't even expect was possible. So it's maintaining that consistency of putting good work out there and trying.
So my call to action to our viewers and our listeners is to make Daniel Martin a part of your life. So follow him, check out whatever he's going to be sharing, little nuggets. Go to the residency.
Go to the residency.
Go to the
show.
residency.
Yes,
Drinks and
awesome.
Deceptions is something you have never experienced, and you will leave better for it. But I feel like even though you've reached this level of success, we're still just at the beginning, and the best and the biggest is yet to come. So I would invite all of our listeners to follow now while you still can. And if you own a business and you are looking for a way to connect with your team and give them a gift, book Daniel to come and spend an hour, hour and a half poking a little fun at your industry, maybe even poking a little fun at some of the principals in the company, and he will make you laugh, he will make you cry, he will make you think, and he will make you better. And it was one of the best things that Sandy and I have ever done for our staff that we still talk about all the time. So that's my call to action for our listeners and our viewers, and I just want to thank you for making us better.
Thank you. And likewise, all the good that you both put in the world means a lot.
Yeah.
And, I know that more than 80 people will listen to this. And,
You got that
and
right.
I'll say it's not about your reach. It's about who you reach.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you have 100 people. If you can impact those 100 people, then holy cow,
Yeah.
you put good in the world.
Well,
So,
you've done that today, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for being such a good friend to us since you moved here. We appreciate that, and we'll continue to support everything you do. I'm looking forward to the Metro Detroit residency show, so keep me posted on that for sure.
you got it.
Today's episode is brought to you by Partners Bulk Logistics. Partners Bulk Logistics is the clear choice for your dry bulk trucking needs. Industry-leading service and on-time delivery sets us apart from the competition. Visit getpbl.com.
The Monday Mornings podcast is brought to you by Barker Weber Insurance Agency. Home, business, auto, and commercial. Visit Barker Weber Insurance.
That was a super interesting episode. Yeah, I did not expect to hear as much motivation as I got out of today's episode. I thought we would maybe hear a little bit more about the magic and stuff, but it's interesting meeting the man behind the entertainer.
I was just going to say the true magic on what he does is Daniel himself and the human spirit that he has and the way he shares it. And we had an opportunity to have him host our Christmas event for our team. And the funny thing is he curtailed his whole magic show, like sprinkling in little tidbits and humor about the real estate world.
Which is your business,
Which is my business, which was so fantastic. So I would encourage anybody that just needs a little something extra, one, listen and re-listen or rewatch this podcast, but two, make time to go and see Daniel. You will not be the same. And if you've got a company or a group that you really want to blow them away, this is a great opportunity to do it.
And if you're in leadership, business, obviously, and you struggle with public speaking, empathy, perspective, I think you'll really get a lot out of this. So this is one I'm going to go back and watch again. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks for the inspiration, Daniel.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. This has been the Monday Mornings Podcast. You can find us wherever you find your podcasts and find us on Facebook.